So, first half, a few mistakes. Not the greatest of start, but you seem to battle back and really get a good result there. Seems to have some.
Well, first half I thought was fairly neutral. I think the game was mostly played in midfield. You know, they had particular patterns that they like to play and get the balls into little pockets, which were a challenge. It wasn't conventional, slightly lopsided. So it took us a little bit of time to get in tune in regards to that. But I say it was, a set piece, pretty much split the sides. They had chances that sort of flashed across the goal. You can probably argue we had the same, where just things weren't going for either side. But no, like I say, I thought the first half was pretty neutral, and I think there's much between the two sides. We obviously adapted a few things. Said like, a couple of positions in particular. This is how we'd like you to go and affect things. And then just general attacking play. We were quite, if anything, we were a little bit too gung-ho in terms of getting bodies forward, and it pretty much ended up being a straight 5 across a line, which didn't give us any defensive depth for if something broke down. And often that was happening. We were getting 5 people wrong side of the ball, which is always going to cause any team's problems. So we just made small adaptations. Obviously, the second half didn't start particularly well. There's nothing really you can do about that. I mean, their goalkeeper obviously suffered one as well. Where the ball was bobbled up over the drainage, which hasn't quite taken. Grass is still to take to that particular strip. And these things happen. I mean, there was a couple of errors between the throw-on, which was our throw-on, and the ball going back to the goalkeeper. But from that point on, you're 2-0 down. The second half's barely started, so the things you've asked the players to go and to go and apply, you're scratching your head. 2-0 down. Nothing's really happened within the game. If anything, we're slightly on the front foot. So at that point, we're just right. Okay, well, what may be will be, but we still want. The message was, well, it hadn't really changed. There's no panic up from our perspective on the sideline. We want to want the players to go and do what's been discussed at half time, and they did. When they put a plan into action, penalty, getting a penalty back pretty much straight away. That helped things out. Game Ben Wright tucks that away. Then we look to go and hunt the ball back down again. We're on the front foot. We're putting them under pressure, and the ball has favoured, has ricocheted favourably for Ben. But fortune favours the brave in that instance. We got a number of bodies forward, hunting the ball back down, and at that stage, pretty much even though the game's 2-2, take away the two goalkeeping errors. It's pretty much 1-1 really from that perspective. And then from that point, that gave us plenty of belief, and and we just continued in that vein. Just stayed aggressive, stayed front foot, always putting pressure on the ball, stopping them getting in that little pockets that they were finding in the first half. They were exposing us, and yeah, that's fantastic. It's great. It's a feel good win.
In terms of last game, you were unhappy with the levels of chances created. You definitely seem to be progressing in chances created. Are you happy with that today?
Yeah, of course. I said to you on Tuesday, pre-season is a process, and that was the first time we switched the process from an individual based to more team based. And even though patterns and little link up play was good in certain areas, a lot of time when we were getting the ball into the box, not enough bodies there, not enough quality going into the box, and it was almost a little bit forced. Whereas today, certainly second half, I still think we can create more chances, but it's progression. It's progression.
Lastly, the two young players, did they please you today? They seem to be right at it.
Toby and young James. Young James he's got this is his last year in the youth team, so he's got a really positive future. He's not just doing well for me, he's doing really well in the development side. He's getting used to men's football. I was really impressed with him with the games I saw him the youth team last year. He's one that he's one that doesn't fear the occasion. There's no fear factor with him. The fact that he's planning it, he's still essentially a kid, and yet he just does nothing phases him. Nothing phases him. He's having a go at some of our players in training if he doesn't get the ball, and young Toby as well. Young Toby has shown plenty of ability and a lot of potential. So it's nice to have these youngsters there in the background, and I'm not phased at all about bringing them on in a Southern League game, because I don't think they'll let me down.
One last question. Going into the next week and to the next pre-season game, what is the main task?
So we've got a step 2 game now coming up. We've got a step 4 side. So there'll be two different teams in terms of the way they play, the quality of players, and yeah, they'll both be challenges. So the message will be, from our perspective, from our change room, certainly with Hampton and Richmond, it's going to be a real good test. They're going to test us defensively, and also it's good to see whether what we're doing with the ball can affect a step 2 defence. Some experienced players in there, and I think we can look forward to it without any sort of trepidation. Just go see whereabouts we are, and that's all we can do. I'll rotate the boys a little bit again, make sure that they're still getting sufficient minutes into their legs. We'll still look at 1 or 2 players that who are trying to find their feet within the group, and just like I say, it's just one game at a time. But I'm very much looking forward to it.
Thank you, Millers.
All right.